course, I was just thinking about this morning about the relationship between, am I really good at being a student of my body? And what does that mean, right? What does it mean to, like, think about all the different ways in which we relate to our bodies, right? And I say, that in a way, all of a sudden, that's already a strange line, because we relate to our bodies, like even built into our language, there's a failure to get that we are our bodies. At least in you gotta, I'm gonna try not to go down the rabbit hole of how stupid Western analytic philosophy has been, and I don't want to blame it all on the Frenchman Descartes, Audrey. I don't want to do that, right? Although he was a scientific genius, he articulated something it's not even Descartes' fault, but like potential within human being, that somehow the mind can think it's not directly and fundamentally related to the body, right? And it's an interesting thing. I mean, remember, I'm just going to take my life and my experience as it happens, and quite frankly, I'm pretty sure that my body is going to be fundamental to at least this time frame that I'm alive in, right? I'm alive in this time frame, and in that time frame, my body's fundamentals, right? But I digress. So all the different ways that we relate to body, and one of the, I have certain background questions that I ask myself all the time. And why is it that human beings, quote, as we evolved, and I put evolved in the last few thousand years in very tenuous air quotes, right? Not that we were better before, but why has there been such a fundamental mistrust of the body? It seems really strange to me, right? And on one level, yeah, because the body dies and it hurts and all this stuff, right? But those are all parts of the body's language, right? And so, like, for example, I've kind of wished that I had learned earlier, like right now, my hands are dry, right? I wish from a younger age, not only that and I have pretty good teeth, but brushed my teeth better and took care of everything better, but I wish I'd taken care of my skin better, right? But that's not a guy thing. So guys are socialized in this kind of funny way. It's like, no, you can't worry about crap like that. You gotta, push, drive, and whatever. And it's like, well, actually, this is one of the most important sensing organs in human manifestation, right? Like, actually, and what's a wild is like so, and again, I'm painting in such ridiculously broad brushstrokes. It's not fair, it's not true. But if you think about fashion and beauty products and all the things that are slightly, I'm not saying slightly because I'm trying to not misspeak, pushed on females more than males. On one level, care of the body is a human innovation, right? That in fact, if you're actually, I wish that I had been raised, and it's not just my family, in fact, my family is pretty good at it, with a deeper appreciation of my body, not just as a vehicle, but as a vehicle that I can act upon and get where I want to go, but as part of what I am. Like, that would have been better. And especially when you live with a disability or acquire one, it's like, dang, I wish my relationship, I had realized, a young person doesn't realize how finite they are. And so they drive and push and run through walls and stuff. And it's like, wait, what if, so like when I just open your palms here for a second and just take a time to feel the air hitting the skin on your palms. Getting back to why my hands are being so dry, it's like, I wish I had used more lotion in my life. Like, oh my goodness. So I got my hands open here and it's like, wait, I just want to feel stuff. And so my brain is so not used to letting all the information into my body. So my palms, obviously our palms are a little bit more sensitive than the back side of our hands, right? I mean, A cut here on the fingertip doesn't feel the same as something on the back, right? And it's just because of practice. So when I have my hands here, take a time to delineate the sensation of the skin and the air on the skin on both the front and the back, right? Because right away your mind's going to be habitualized into feeling the front side when you open your palm, right? And actually that's the rougher side. So on my hand, because I push a wheelchair, and so actually this skin is probably dumber than the skin on the backside of my hands, right? Because at a certain point, roughness is a lack of suppleness, right? So, and it doesn't receive the world the same, but it got things done. My palms get things done. It pushes wheels and stuff, especially right here. I'm super dry right here, right? Because that's where I hit the wheel, right? But now I want to make sure my being is aware of the skin on the backside of my fingers right there. And I'm doing all these weird things going like, dang, what are the different ways? Like, what do bones teach you? Like, show your mind, right? So the the asana practitioner starts to get really curious about things like, bring your hands together if you can, about things like what happens if I expand my focus and narrow my focus simultaneously. So I see like the integration of my focus in mind and body as opening a wider focus and relationship to the world around me. So I have to go in through focus to go out through action, right? And what if instead of thinking, oh, I'm going to will my hands to come together and do this, I start to get the quieter on the inside of my brain thinking, or my mind thinking, oh, I'm in charge of everything. And I start going, wait, it starts with sensation. I was sensation first before I was mind, right? That's how babies come. They're sensations first. It's what's so beautiful about little babies. They're either hungry, they have to pee, right? They're wet, they're basic. And they're beautiful because they're direct, right? And so I'm like going, okay, I'm going to start to focus. Remember, we're practicing one of the limbs right now. I just don't want to focus you, have your mind focus, and then release. I want you to try to bring everything, go through the bottleneck. Your mind's like doesn't quite know where it is in space. The body's got all this in because it lives on top of everything. It's like disconnected and groundless, right? And so in order to get a truly organic form of focus, it has to travel through the body. So here it comes, like I'm trying to feel stuff, be sensation, got my elbow on the table because I need balance. Because once I go off balance, right, my mind actually devolves and splinters, right? So I'm trying to figure out, okay, I'm going to take sensation and I'm going to try to get the sensation because I was sensation first, mind second. And I'm going to bring my hands together and ground, trying to feel now I'm closing the space between my palms, having the space back here, going down to my elbows on the table, connecting. But so I just gave all these instructions about your hands, but of course, we already know that really the only yoga pose is do unified action at all time, right? Inward and outward. So I'm going to do this again now. Start again. Don't get bored by how simply profound your organic connection is to everything, right? So it comes in, but this time I'm going to make sure the backside of my sternum, my sitting bones, and my feet are part of this movement. How do I do that? I don't focus my brow to go, where are those? Where are those? Where are those? I surrender to the input coming to my brain already. And I let it get to my mind. So when my mind activates and tries to will my body into a particular movement, I'm allowing everything to come with me, right? Everything I'm actually already aware of. Again, this class is on focus. Now, with all this extra awareness, did you tighten the inside of your mouth so far? Watch, keep it loose, keep the skin breathing, right? Keep everything being felt. So I'm trying it again. Here, I'm not going to get bored. Now, everything's coming into the midline. I'm grounding, I'm lifting, I'm expanding. As I move the skin on my hands, I move the skin between my shoulder blades. I feel the bones in my sitting bones. I feel my feet on the floor, on the foot pedals. I'm doing all this and trying to keep my jaw soft because my mind is going to want to grip because it's not used to this kind of focus. The limb of focus, of concentration, is total. It's not particular. It includes the body. The mind dissolves in yogic focus. Experience happens purely with yoga focus. Breathe. Good, and then release. Who other than me wants to resist that kind of focus? It's freaking hard, right? I'm not great at it. I can do it in glimpses, right? Damn. So sit up straight and tall. You know, bring everything with you, whatever that means. Don't try to do it by furrowing your brows. You can't bring everything with you by furrowing your brows. You can only bring everything with you by allowing, right? Everything with you into sitting up straight and tall. So I got this place in my scoliosis where too much awareness goes to the shoulder blade on my right inside edge of my shoulder blade and my right sitting bones. Like, you're right. So I'm trying to not just sink into the hole that makes my awareness it makes my awareness into a particular story. What's your story? Where do you go in your posture? Right? Don't just try to counteract it. Try to start more centered. Soften the jaw, the inside of your mouth, right? Let it be quieter. Now feel and let the sensation of emptiness and grace make you make minute adjustments in your posture. So follow the sensation of ease and lightness, and there's my head off to the side, right? I'm watching the sensation of grace and lightness, and I'm letting it align my body. But I know I'm doing asana, so I want us not just drift off into the ether. I want to feel my sitting bones, feel my feet. So my mind has to be particular, but do it beginning in what's not particular and then ending in what's not particular. And keeping it all let go of your day. Prepare your mind to do yoga. Good. And then release. So just so you know, you and I do not do that perfectly, right? That will need to be a practice. Like we're not, there's always more. Like I was doing that and I had a glimpse of doing it pretty well. And then I went, oh, well, my mind started to go judge myself. Like, my feet aren't exactly, and I'm doing the little micro thing. But there's a reason why um, um, that the yogis will describe this state as a dissolving of mind, and particularly of ego. And they'll start to use the words like pure observer. So instead of thinking that you're a subject in relationship to what's happening, to the object of happening, the idea that yogis are driving for is that there's a dissolving of the ego or the subject, and you become part of what's happening, part of the happening, right? Now, I know this sounds really philosophical. What if it's incredibly simple? What if what they're trying to lead us to as students is so simple, right? It's pure sensation that's how you become part of the happening, right? That the mind doesn't disappear, it dissolves into the happening, right? So one of the things I noticed when we were all centering there for a second, most of you closed your eyes. So lately, and you don't have to do this, we're gonna do the same thing again, right? Lately, I've been practicing trying to do this, whatever we just did. I say whatever we just did. I don't know what to call that. Remember, we're working on focus. We're working on one of the limbs, and a focus that is informed by the body, doesn't leave the body, okay? And enters the fullness through the body, not at the expense of the body, right? Big words right there. I want you to try to do it this time. Get there. Get to where you just did. Center again. Try to take all the space with you. Try to have it all. Feel your body. Feel its fullness. Feel all of it, right? And then come to the midline to actually expand out into the universe, right? All those words. Do it. Most of you tend to close your eyes here, because the less input that comes in through the optic nerve, the more sensation based we feel, right? But now keep all that and open your eyes. This is the beginning of asana. Asana is going to take the dive inward and try to keep it and move it through movement, right? So center, do all the things you know how to do, however you want to do it. And start with your eyes closed, change nothing, and open your eyes. I study asana because I want to help the world. You've got to decide why you do asana. I'm thinking asana is like the eyes open, already returning. How does my skin be part of my focus? How do my bones? How does my breath? I can see why they emphasize centering, balance. Otherwise, my focus wanes. Good. And then release. Now, I don't know. I wonder about focus. So I want to get lighter again, because I tend to find that kind of focus practice takes the water out of my mouth and makes me like a little bit feeling less alive, right? So I'm going to move again. So, but I'm going to keep the unchanging part that's in my experience, that's revealed by my focus, by my integrative focus, right? So even as I'm moving here, I'm actually trying to like go, wait, everything's moving, right? And so right now I'm just trying to like get that lightness. So you might lift up, I think the space in the low back matters, but I'm gonna now get some of that happening, right? So I got balance changes, but I'm going to try to stay with what the focus practice just earned. So part of this doesn't change, right? Part of it does change, because what if what's unchanging and changing is integral to what focus is? Can you move and stay faithful to what's unchanging, right? Can you integrate? So I'm just opening up stuff because my skin wants to open and my muscles want to open, right? Then I want to tell you and practice that like that feeling of change needs to not change the focus. So I do thought experiments, like ridiculous thought experiments that I can know nothing about. Okay. But I've thought about, do you think, let's say, maybe, I don't know, Thich Nhat Hanh, maybe Buddha, I have no idea. Someone that's maybe a Tibetan monk, I have no idea. Do you think that they are able to stay quiet because they deny all the sound around them? They push it away? They create a wall or a barrier? Probably not. I had a thought early on in my yoga practice, in my thought experiment about the kind of being that perhaps someone like the Buddha was, is that he probably denied nothing. That it was just the opposite. That it wasn't asceticism that he was practicing. It was totality. Right? And that focus must include both. Right? That the gaze includes both. So when I think about it that way, instead of thinking, oh, I've got to push away the world. Does anyone remember, if you've read Waking, the back of the elephant, right? Where the back of the elephant's telling the monk to get out of the center of the road. You remember this story? Right, in Waking. And then he doesn't, he thinks he's unified with the universe and the elephant steps on him, right? And he doesn't understand why he's hemorrhaging in the ditch or hemorrhaging on the road. And his teacher comes out of the ditch and says, didn't you hear it telling you to get out of the road? Right? I'm not an aesthetic because I'm not going to deny the back of the elephant. And the back of the elephant is that I'm moving, I'm alive, and there's change. That's the back of the elephant. No matter what I think I'm getting when I access the unchanging, it better include the back of the elephant. Right? So we touch it in centering. We practice it in asana. Start moving again. So now what about rhythm? Right? So damn it, isn't rhythm a great human intervention? So I'm like lifting up and pushing one knee forward, and then I'm slinking back. Whew. It's like I'm skating. I'm a skater. One knee comes forward. Whew. I start to feel like, wait, there's a rhythm here. What the hell? Right? And I can stay focused on what doesn't change, right? As I feel what changes, right? So one of the things I don't like, so I don't doubt that meditation is more important than asana, because people that know me, not me, know yoga better than I do. say that maybe it's the most important limb, right? Right? But damn it, I have a body. The back of the elephant tells me something else, right? All right. So now I'm going to put my hands on the table. I'm going to practice dog pose. You know why? Dogs, being closer to the pure sensation of what we were when we were babies, dogs hang out in pure sensation, and they tend to do dog pose when before they start moving and wake up. Right? Why? Because maybe they're on to something. So I'm doing a version of dog pose here. My hands are here. I'm leaning forward. I've changed gravity. I'm figuring out how to ground my palms, lengthen my arms, ground it at the side body and between the shoulder blades, hit down through my sitting bones, lift my chest slightly, look my gaze down so I can feel the unchanging, activate my body, roll, press down through my heels to help me roll my inner groin down, right? Expand up. So this is like a version of down dog, up dog. And breathe. Remember, there's 840 million yoga poses. Good, and then release. Does anyone worry that, not worry, marvel that the ancient Egyptians were so overwhelmed by some version of up dog, down dog that they created a sphinx? Really? What a crazy bunch of people. They spent 100 years building something gigantic because they thought a certain posture needed to be passed through time. So I'm coming forward again. I'm on my elbows. So that regal lift of a cat's head, right? Do you know the one I'm talking about? Where they kind of look up and they think we kind of call that haughtiness kind of in a cat. Make sure that you're forward and you're lifting your sternum and dropping your shoulder blades. And somehow, doesn't it seem like cats never carry heaviness in their head? Like somehow they actually stay light up here, and we call it haughtiness. So I'm making sure I'm working here. Remember, the Sphinx is almost in a form of up dog or in a form of cobra, right? And it rises. And then I'm grounding it here and breathing. And I'm using my table, my bones, my sitting bones, my hands. Everything is part of what looks simple. Remember, this class is on focus. And I'm touching different parts of the universe when I think about and try to become something like the Sphinx. Good, and then release. I have no idea why they would have been motivated to do that, right? No idea. One time I was teaching in London and I was staying at a hotel that was near the British Natural History Museum, which is really intense. And they had, as in their front entrance, Assyrian, I don't even know what to call them, sphinxes that were guarding the palace that they had stolen from Assyria and brought piece by piece, right? And I was thinking, my God, like, how did that make them feel more confident? Why would they pick that position to put outside their gates? Sit up straight and tall. So I'm sure the heaviness and the regalness was part of the sensation that they wanted to associate with their power. They wanted to stand tall. The leaders, being so lost in egoism, didn't care about human beings, but wanted to show that they were going to stay and stand tall through generations. But they picked this posture the guard posture. I wonder what my Tadasana could be. Balance my head over my neck. Let the emptiness also be powerful. I was quite struck by those Assyrian gatekeepers, and they scared me. That's part of what they wanted. Breathe. Good, and then release. So why do you think yogis use so many images? What are they trying to do? Inhale, take your arm up. Exhale, take it to the side. So why? What are they trying to capture? Not just of the mind, but of the mind, that the energy that the mind actually can capture that the body can't, right? So these images of lift up with the chest as you turn skyward, but auger down towards the earth through your sitting bones as you're doing that. What's being captured here and focused through the body? Or what are you aligning with when your mind participates with images? Good. How is it aiding in the expression of the body? Just so you know, mental images for poses are at best the cherries on the ice cream. Inhale up. Exhale, turn. So also I'm turning. Now already here, well, we'll just do it on the other side, both sides, right? And then inhale. Remember, this is trying to turn and rotate skyward. Something's auguring down. And I'm spreading with every fiber. So it's not the instruction of expanding between the shoulder blades as you turn your chest is to touch your sitting bones. And I open between my shoulder blades so I can keep aware of my left heel, the back leg heel and foot. I touch everything with everything as I open and twist. Good, and then release. Ooh, I'm tasting the piece of toast I ate before that twist brought up some peanut butter. Right? I'm coming forward. These are all things I'm coming back to, right? You could do Tadasana between every each side, or you could do some version of dog pose. And then all of a sudden I'm turning dog pose into Sphinx because I want the activation and the effort of a lifted chest. And then I'm going to contrast it with when I bring my head back down and I don't try to lift my chest so much, and I ground down through my hands and my feet and my sitting bones more, and I lengthen my sitting bones away from the top of my head. And all of a sudden I was, boy, that's a different energy. And then I'm going to turn it upward and go, oh, here's another energy that was here. And breathe. Good. And then release. And then I'm going to come down on my elbows again. And I'm going to go, because I'm trying to practice focus, because I'm about to bring it to a twist. So my palms or my hands together are the center of my chest, are my inner heels, traveling through my sitting bones, my skin. I'm going to try to feel the air on the back of my hands, to feel the air, even though I'm wearing a shirt, on the skin of my back body. I'm going to keep my jaw soft. All these things. Don't get overwhelmed with the instructions. Just be your body. Include all of your body. They're not instructions. They're reminders. You don't have to do anything. You have to listen to what's already here. That's what focus is. It just takes different forms. Good, and then release. I so long thought my mind is what focused. It's just so not true. the grounding energy focuses. The unchanging energy remains the center of an expanding awareness in mind and body, right? So now I'm going to take my arm up, but I'm going to make sure that I'm feeling all the negative spaces while feeling the center of where my arm is. So dropping my shoulder blade and stretching out, finding my sitting bones, going down through my feet, but trying to stay open to the negative spaces or the not filled spaces of the room. I'm going to exhale and bring, like we've done before. You did it in terms of shadows because that was for the observer, right? But bring everything through to the other side, right? Pivot to where you, like, I need to make sure I stay on balance. So I'm going to sit here and rock a little bit, right? Because what happens to me is I become too static in twists. I grind them too quickly. Because somehow the grinding helps my will. The will disconnects me from the universe, right? It's not quite organic in the same way my body is. So I want my will to be guided by sensation here, right? And so I'm going to occupy my mind instead of it crashing into too much effort. I'm going to use images like auger down and rise the center of my chest up through this towards the sky, and I auger down to the earth, spread my between my shoulder blades to feel my sitting bones and the bottoms of my feet, lift under my collarbones. Here's the normal instructions, right? But I'm trying to use all of me in the turn, all of the space in the turn. Good. And then come on back because, and I'm going to uncoil so my mind can, and uncoil slowly so my mind can keep up, right? So you don't have to do this. I want you to do the intent. I hope that was an intense twist, because if it wasn't, you're not doing what I'm asking, right? Okay, so, but one of the reasons, not only are you staying patient when you come out of a pose slow, you're allowing not the body to keep informing, you're allowing the mind to keep receiving through the movements of the body. Because if I go fast, the body processes it all too fast for my mind to keep up with. So sometimes you come out of poses slowly in order to allow the mind to keep up. Inhale up. Oh, use whatever image you want to bring more with you, to be aligned with more, right? It was never about your effort. It was about your focus. Changing and unchanging. What I control, what I don't control. I control the movements of my body, and it helps my mind feel safe, but I don't control the rest of the room. All of it's coming in my twist. Exhale, turn, find the balance point, right? So I've got to grab a different part of my wheel here, because I know when I'm more unified, what I need from my base. And then down, auger down, rise up. Oh, I forgot, I got too willful. This side's harder for me. So I tend to will my weight when I twist to the right. I need to be softer as I will. I need to feel everything. Inhale, lift up, exhale. Now, if I want to add a cherry, I lift under the collarbones. I drop my shoulder blades, but I want my spine to receive the twisting. I want my skin to touch the sun, right? But my bones to keep the earth. Inhale, lift up, exhale, revolve. Good, and then come on back to center. Whew. I gotta let that one in. So I'm rocking back and forth naturally because I went deep there. So there's probably a reason why whatever the energy of your bones are, it's not supposed to touch the sun directly. That'd be a compound fracture, and that's probably not good, right? So you have in your bones a different energy source than your skin, right? And they're all energy sources, right? So I'm coming forward under the table and I'm plunking down my elbow. Not that hard, don't do that. That kind of hurt. It's trying to make a point. Plunking down the other. Okay, there's the one of the things I'm getting more and more bizarre this class, and I apologize. It's about to get really bizarre. So I was digging up a garden when I first started yoga, and then sit up because I got to tell this weird story. So I was digging up a garden with my bare hands, tilling the soil. It's in Waking. This is a scene in Waking. Okay. And I'm trying to get rid of some roots that were needed to get out. And it's around where the orange tree was, And I start digging up with my hands. I'm sitting in the backyard on the ground, which already is kind of wild when you're in a wheelchair. You're not on the ground like that very often, especially for long periods of time. And I keep digging up the soil, and I can't believe like there's so much life in the soil. Like there's so many grubs, bugs, and stuff. You can't believe it. And the line I love, one of my favorite lines in Waking is, I can't remember exactly how it goes right now, this second, but like the bugs themselves was the earth's inner breathing. Like the movement that the bugs in the soil are the earth breathing actually and moving, right? But I remember thinking, how the hell is all this going on when there's no sunlight in here? Like there's a whole bunch of shit going on in that dirt, right? And it's all thriving and it's doing it without sunlight. And there's bottoms of the ocean, too, without as much light, but they don't move as cool as bugs, right? I don't really like bugs until you really watch them. And they actually make sure they consume and don't waste anything. They're the earth taking organic life back, right? So the bugs do whatever they do and they process it and they give it back into the soil, right? And the soil doesn't need the light. So when I'm doing asana, I thought, like, what part of me doesn't touch the light? How do I access that? But it touches the earth and makes everything possible. Is anyone grounding their sits bones more right now? Pay attention. How would you touch the earth? Right? So I'm leaning on my forearms. I'm feeling my sitting bones. I'm feeling my feet. And I'm letting the bones. I'm trying to get that they access stuff without sunlight. And it draws me towards the earth. So I'm going to take this energy and rise like the Sphinx from my bones into my action. Then I'm going to release. Try it again. All these images are to help you keep your mind focused. If they don't work for you, don't listen to them. Do it. Ground down. Allow. The bones to the earth, the rise of the chest. I hope you kind of want to naturally inhale right now. What do you do on exhale? Do you lift your chest more? I do. Good, and then release, and I'm going to descend back and return to where there's less light. Right? Gonna look down. Remember, this class is about focus. Right? Gonna find, Richard Friedman says, something has to drop towards the earth in order the earth to be realized in a yoga pose. So what am I dropping? And then I'm gonna root my bones and start to rise. I'm going to start lifting my chin up, extending my neck, because now I'm reaching to sunlight. Can you feel the skin change and it start to wake up? You're not just with your bones anymore. So broaden the skin now as you look up. So all of a sudden, I totally get that crazy lion's pose, right? Where the sphinx stinks out its tongue, right? So I go, and then all of a sudden I'm going to go and open my mouth. Looking, my eyeballs go up towards the top of my head because my will is chasing the earth, the sky. But I'm doing it from the bones and the earth. So I'm going to let my moisture open my mouth. And then release. And if I judge what I just did, I probably will feel goofy in my head. Right? But I need not to judge a practice like this. I'm going to trust that the yogis are going after something. Going to ground again. Down. The mud is the earth bleeding. Is the mud the earth bleeding? Perhaps. I saw that line flash through the chat. Go ahead and just don't whack me out right now. I'm already weird enough right now. Okay. All right. So I'm grounding and I'm finding the sunless part of the earth with my bones. And I'm going to turn forward and start to engage up with my will to touch the sky, to make my skin more active. Lifting the chest, I'm going to open up, tip my head back a little bit. And then I'm going to open my mouth. My eyes go up, right? Not with strain. And then I open. And then I let it all drop. So that lion's pose that we're doing right now, when my dad would practice yoga when I was little, and I didn't know what he was doing. He kept having whiplash accidents, and he practiced a little bit, not very well. But he had this book that he used to stay in his front closet that I'd go in, and it was an old book. And my mom just gave it to me not too long ago, like 5 years ago. But it had that pose. And I used to go into that and find the book, and I'd sit in his closet and I'd look at the pictures that scared me, right? And be like, wow, this is so weird. It was a very weird, sensational book from the early 70s, right? 1971, I think. And now what's funny is that exactly that pose, right? That pose probably comes into existence because the yogis are feeling their way into complete focus. They're taking a movement, and this is going to be true with any asana. They're taking a movement and following it with sensation. To include their eyes without judgment, to include their mouth, to include their spine, to include their skin. they're actually following, they're feeling their way into poses as opposed to performing them. Right? One more time. I'm going to try to follow sensation here. Gosh, I got more weight on one sits bones all the time. The atrophy in that buttock is proof. Way more gravity hitting that sitting bone. So I'm going to pause. And I'm going to like try to let it equal out. I'm going to ground my arms, ground my sitting bones, feel my feet. Know that there's a source here that doesn't require light. So there's a reason why they call it sun and moon, right? Those are just descriptors. So I'm going to start to engage, come forward, start to expand my spine, come up, open my chest, move the skin on the front of my neck, open it up, open my eyes now, reach up with my eyeballs, and then make sure as my eyes go up towards the sun, I make sure the earth stays with the water as I open and expand my tongue. It makes sense. But now can I make sure the base of my sitting bones and my feet are part of the expression? Oh my goodness. And then I'm going to release. And when I started to see how this particular pose, and there are a couple of them, write themselves if you follow sensation, just pause for a second. And whether you think that's weird or an important pose or not, I don't know if it is or not. I do think the old yogis are mad geniuses. They're just my type of lot, right? They're like, dang, they are laying down breadcrumbs of a certain kind of focus and faith and following sensation, that they're even like expanding their tongue, lifting their, and then they decide to call it lion's pose, right? That's interesting. There's something really important they think about the expanding rib cage and the opening mouth and the tongue and the eyes going up. And then I'm thinking, oh, it's kind of close to the Sphinx. Huh. It's probably not related. I hope you're a little bit concerned about this class. I know I am. So to help me out of the room, take your right arm up. I'm going to turn, right? And now I'm making this one be more about the sunlight, right? All right, making sure I'm letting my skin feel free, not driving it towards the earth. And then release. And then I'm going to take the other arm. Right, and then turn. This side gets stuck, so I gotta be more compassionate about this side. Gonna open, gonna smile. Good, and then come on back to center. And then practice a little bit of symmetry. I still can't get over that picture in that book when the guy was putting pipe cleaners through his nose. That's not something I'm willing to do. Right? That was another picture. He was flossing through his nose to his mouth. That's not for me. I do have limits, right? I'm not going to follow certain things. Each hand, each sitting bone, each foot, I want symmetry to be part of the sensation of my Shavasana. I want to remember the lift in the chest. Good. And then release. And then get in the position you need for Shavasana. That's the mad person. Do you hear my doorbell? Bethany, teach Shavasana. This is going to be, he's going to talk to me. This is a tech. All right. So you teach it.
Okay.
I'll come back after she teaches Shavasana.
All right. So everyone finding their comfortable final relaxation, Shavasana space, and softening the jaw, the inside of the mouth, softening through the shoulders, elbows, wrists, even through the skin on the palms of the hands. Then noticing the support beneath you, the space behind you, to the sides and the front of you. And resting here. And noticing your breath. Inhalation and the exhalation. The rise and the fall. If it serves you, you can place your hands on your belly or your rib cage. And from here, we'll move back to center. Drawing your hands to heart center. Thank you so much for sharing your practice, your presence, and your time. Namaste.